Hello everybody and welcome to That's Football. Chelsea in crisis as sanctions hit Roman Abramovich. No sale, no transfers, no contract renewals. The potential that only season ticket holders can attend the ground, and therefore if they hit administration, potential points deduction. Is this the end of Chelsea? I don't think so at all. I don't. I think people are getting melodramatic, and I'll explain why I think Chelsea will be back contending for the Premier League title and the Champions League next season, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But first of all, we're sponsored by BetU, and I'm going to tell you just about what that's all about. So, today's show is sponsored by BetU. BetU Play to Earn is the world's first play-to-earn sport and esports prediction game. BetU Play to Earn is a totally risk-free form of betting, as you can never lose your BetU tokens. Each week in BetU, Play to Earn is considered a gaming round. So for instance, as you can see here, I'm going to play with 10,000 BetU for this round, which gives me 100 BetU points. This is where the risk-free element comes in, as you never play with your BetU tokens. You only play with your points for that gaming round. Once you've chosen the amount of points you want to use that week, then you go to sports and place the predictions you would like. This week, I'm backing teams in the Premier League. I think Brentford, Liverpool, Man United, Leeds, Wolves and Chelsea will win, with Southampton and Newcastle drawing. If all those come in, I will make 100 points up to 243 BetU points, which I can then exchange for 143 BetU tokens. To be clear, if your bet wins, you will be rewarded with points that are converted into BetU tokens at the end of the round. If you lose, you will not be rewarded with any points, but you will not lose any of your BetU tokens. So this really is the safest form of betting I've ever come across. So if you fancy trying out the future of betting, then head down to the link in the description and join BetU today. And please make sure to use the code Goldbridge so they know I sent you. Remember, you have to be over 18 to play, and always gamble aware. And when the fun stops, stop. Thank you to BetU. Anyway, let's get on with the show. Chelsea in crisis. Sanctions against Abramovich. And I suppose the first point here is the very human approach. There is a conflict in the Ukraine, which is being fronted by Russia. And the British government and other governments around the world are hitting Russian businessmen and Russia itself with sanctions. Chelsea are owned by Roman Abramovich, and these sanctions are not aimed at Chelsea fans, and Chelsea fans have obviously got every right to feel stressed today. This is aimed at Roman Abramovich, and personally, to get it in there very quickly, I don't think this is bad for Chelsea fans in the future. I think what the government are trying to do is that they will allow the sale of Chelsea, but they don't want the funds to go to Roman Abramovich. This is about making life difficult for those persons who the governments feel have a close connection with the Russian government, of which Roman Abramovich has been identified as one of those. So these sanctions are basically to force difficulty on Roman Abramovich, in the hope that that will make it difficult for Russia and potentially stop the conflict in the Ukraine, which is what we all want. On a footballing level, what does this mean for Chelsea? Well, look, from reading over it, only season ticket holders can go to games. You can't renew any contracts. You can't sign any players. There's limits on what you can actually spend on a game-to-game basis. I don't think any merchandising can be done. So it's massively restricting the earning potential of Chelsea whilst these sanctions are in place. And there is a story that these sanctions will be reviewed in May. And if Chelsea go into administration, they could face points deductions, which, could allow Man United into the top four, I suppose. But look, I ain't thinking like that. I think that's so narrow-minded of any Arsenal, Man United or Spurs fan to think, I hope Chelsea get a points deduction so we can get in the top four. At the end of the day, there's a serious reason why this is happening, and then there's a football reason. And from a football reason, I don't want to see United getting top four because a team that's better than us gets a points deduction. I don't want to see that. It's ridiculous. And it's not Chelsea fans' fault. What I would say is, though, Chelsea have benefited from the money of Roman Abramovich, and now they are suffering because of Roman Abramovich's connection to Russia. You can't have it both ways. You've had all his money. You've been very successful. Now you're paying the price of his connection to Russia. That's why they've done it. I would hope that the outcome, and I expect the outcome to be this. I think Roman Abramovich wants to get rid of Chelsea because he cares about what he's built with Chelsea, and I think he will probably get to a point where he says, look, sell the club to somebody who's going to benefit it. I won't take any money for it. And I think that will happen. The government of the UK have made it very clear that this is not about punishing Chelsea Football Club or Chelsea fans. There's a cultural identity of Chelsea Football Club that goes way beyond Roman Abramovich, and they don't want to jeopardise Chelsea Football Club's future. And I don't think that will happen. So, look, we can all get sensationalist. We can all start saying points deductions. We can all say that Chelsea are going to lose all their players and this, that and the other. But I really don't think that is the game here. I think the game is to make life difficult for Roman Abramovich. There are people queuing up to buy Chelsea. And actually, what might happen is there might be a bloody bargain for somebody to buy Chelsea here. Because instead of giving Roman Abramovich 3 or 4 billion, he might not get anything. I might put a bid in. I might send an email to the government and say, look, I'll give you a tenner for it. I wouldn't mind owning Chelsea. I want Chelsea to carry on. I mean, look, to be honest, Man United aren't going to win the league. So if Man United aren't going to win the league, I want Chelsea to win it instead of Liverpool and Man City, because Liverpool and Man City are bigger rivals of ours. But look, I think people will get stressed about this. I understand that there's serious ramifications in the wider world as to why this is happening, of course, and there's also the stress of Chelsea football fans. But I don't see this being a major issue. Chelsea have got a good enough squad to compete till the end of the season, and maybe people like Rudiger are going to go because he's not renewing his contract anyway. He can't renew his contract now. He can't renew his contract, but I don't think he was going to do it anyway. And Christensen was going to go as well. So Chelsea, difficult. These sort of things can have an impact on the way the club is being run. And that would be my concern if I was a Chelsea fan. How this impacts on Chelsea between now and the end of the season. I think they need a bit of a siege mentality, because I think by the start of next season this will all be sorted out and Chelsea will remain to be a big club. There's a queue of people wanting to buy Premier League clubs, and there'll be a very big queue of people wanting to buy Chelsea. They'll have seen what's happened at Newcastle. I mean, to be honest with you, they wouldn't admit it publicly, but the Newcastle owners are thinking, oh shit, if this had happened a year earlier, they'd have bought it. They'd have been all over that. They would have loved to buy Chelsea, and there'll be other people who want to buy Chelsea. Chelsea will be in the hands of an ambitious billionaire within the next, it could be the next few days, could be the next few weeks, but certainly in the next few months. And when that happens, Chelsea will continue, like Man City, to be a dominant force in the European and world stage. I do not think for 1 minute this is going to be an issue for Chelsea going forward. I think, if you read the better outlets about this, and actually probably read BBC News instead of BBC Football News, because it explains it quite well there. This is about attacking Roman Abramovich's funds to make life difficult for him, to make it difficult for Russia. That's what it's about. And ultimately, a lot of people wanted this to happen because of what was happening in the Ukraine. From a footballing point of view, as I said, I don't think this is going to be a major impact for Chelsea. It will be quite interesting with the season ticket holders thing. Only 28,000 season ticket holders at Chelsea, apparently, with a capacity of about 41,000. So technically, only 28,000 Chelsea fans can turn up for their home games now. I don't know what that means about away fans, because that would be revenue that they can't make. Surely the government can just say you can have away fans and sell it, but the money has to go to charity or something like that. I don't know. But there are these sanctions in place that are going to make it difficult for Chelsea over the next few weeks. And as I said, I think there's two factors here. One is to make Roman Abramovich's life difficult, and two, to not let him make £3 or £4 billion from selling Chelsea that he can then use. Because what they don't want with this sale effectively is if Roman Abramovich is the target of these sanctions because of his connections with Russia, which he is, they don't want him to sell Chelsea Football Club, get £3 or £4 billion and then walk away back to Russia with it. They don't want that £3 or £4 billion going to him. That's why they're hitting Chelsea with these sanctions of you can't make money from merchandise, because ultimately that money could go to Roman Abramovich. So I think the solution here is going to be taking the ownership of Chelsea away from him, which for some Chelsea fans is quite difficult to stomach because of what's been achieved over the last however many years. But I think that has to happen. I think even if the Ukraine conflict invasion stopped tomorrow, I still don't think the trust is there for these sort of things to continue in the short term. So he needs to sell Chelsea. I think he accepts he needs to sell Chelsea. And he may just need to sell Chelsea and walk away from it and not make any money from it, in which case Chelsea will live on. So I think that's what will happen. But look, maybe that's a bit of a non-emotional, stressed, sensationalist approach to it. I do not think that this is going to have a major impact on Chelsea. Probably a little bit in the short term, but I don't think. I think the first team is stable enough to ride it out. They were never going to win the league anyway. The FA Cup and the Champions League is still a possibility, and I think they'll get top four. and then next season I think you'll have new owners and a new beginning. And my only warning with that would be, try and avoid owners like the Glazers who just want to make money out of your club. Try and get an owner that wants to put money into your club and win. Try and get an owner like Abramovich without all the stuff that has happened here, which nobody would have foreseen 15 years ago, would they? Anyway, look, smash a like on the video. I hope that explains it all. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you subscribe, and also do check out BetU. Fantastic new thing that you can try there. Links in the video description, and make sure you use the code Goldbridge if you like having a little bet on the football. It is a really good and clever way of doing it. So check it out for the weekend fixtures. Thanks everyone for watching. Links in the description. Goldbridge is the code, and I'll speak to you all in a bit.